Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and give you insights that, well, actually matter, tailored just for you. Today, we're tackling something pretty universal: how to genuinely support someone who's grieving. It's such a tough time, and even basic things like eating can feel impossible. And often, our first instinct, wanting to help, is to bring food. It's a classic gesture of comfort. So, for this deep dive, we're looking primarily at Oliver Remington's article, Foods to Tread Lightly: What Not to Offer a Grieving Heart. Really insightful stuff. We'll also bring in some perspectives from global traditions and modern wellness thinking to give you the full picture. Our goal today: to figure out which food choices might accidentally add to the burden and how you can make sure your kindness truly lands as comfort.
That's so true. Food is, it's this fundamental way we show care, right? Especially when words just don't feel like enough. But as Oliver's article points out, and as you see across so many cultures, not every dish works. Something made with love could still, cause physical upset or maybe clash with a cultural practice or just feel like one more thing to deal with. So yeah, we need to unpack the why. Why are certain things less helpful? That way you can offer support that really fits.
Exactly. And what really struck me in Remington's piece wasn't just the what, but the actual, the science behind it. It goes beyond just taste. So what's the first category the article flags? And what's the physiological reason we should maybe pause before offering it?
Well, it might surprise you, but it points straight at sugary treats and desserts. Cakes, cookies.
Right, the go-to sweet pick-me-up.
Exactly. But Oliver explains that grief puts the body under intense stress. Think cortisol levels rising.
Yeah.
When you add high sugar foods to that mix, you get this big blood sugar spike, but then a really sharp crash. And that roller coaster, it makes the fatigue, the mood swings, everything that's already happening with grief just worse.
Right, especially if sleep and appetite are already messed up.
Precisely. It destabilizes an already shaky system. So you're thinking sweetness, maybe fresh fruit, something gentler. It's about real comfort, not just a sugar hit.
That makes a lot of sense, the blood sugar thing. It makes me wonder, though, is there ever a situation where maybe a small bit of a familiar, maybe less healthy comfort food might actually do more good emotionally than, say, a perfectly balanced meal they don't recognize? I'm thinking back to when I brought a friend this massive pile of cheesy fries once, thinking it was peak comfort food. Now I'm like, maybe not.
That's a really thoughtful question. And there is nuance, absolutely. Maybe a tiny portion of something deeply familiar offers a fleeting moment of solace. But the article really focuses on that longer-term physical impact. Those same comfort foods, like the fries you mentioned, the really fried, fatty stuff, they're tough on digestion. When you're grieving, your whole system slows down, including digestion. Heavy fats, trans fats, hydrogenated oils, they're hard work for the body at the best of times.
So even harder when stressed.
Much harder.
Yeah.
And grief often messes with appetite anyway, maybe causes nausea. So greasy food can just sit there feeling heavy, adding physical discomfort on top of the emotional pain.
Oof, yeah.
Oliver specifically mentions avoiding things like fast food, heaps of fries, heavy red meats, lighter proteins like grilled chicken or fish. Much easier on a sensitive system.
Okay, so heavy foods are out. What about the opposite end, really intense flavors, like spicy stuff? Sometimes we think that might liven things up a bit.
It's an understandable impulse, definitely. But the article actually advises caution with things like chili, strong curries, heavily spiced dishes.
Really? Why is that?
Well, when someone's deep in sorrow, their senses can become almost raw, heightened.
Ah, I see.
Strong, bold flavors can feel kind of abrasive, almost overwhelming, like adding more noise when everything's already too loud, sensorially speaking. So if you don't know their preferences for sure, it's usually safer, more considerate to stick to milder flavors. Avoid any accidental gut upset or just sensory overload.
That's a really key point about heightened senses. Okay, another convenient option.
Sure.
Processed meats. Like deli slices, maybe sausages. Easy to grab and bring over. What's the thinking there?
Super convenient, yeah. But things like sausages, bacon, smoked deli meats, often compact with preservatives and loads of sodium.
Great salts.
Yeah, and that can lead to dehydration or bloating, which is just not what someone needs when their body is already feeling taxed and maybe sluggish.
Makes sense.
Freshly cooked, simpler meats are usually a gentler option, assuming meat fits their diet. But again, you always need to check about dietary needs first.
Absolutely. Okay, last one in this category. Things often offered to help someone relax or perk up. Alcohol and caffeine. A bottle of wine, strong coffee. Seems kind, right?
It often comes from a place of kindness, for sure. But the source material gives some pretty strong warnings here. Alcohol, far from relaxing, can actually deepen depressive feelings. That's a risky path when someone's vulnerable.
Yeah.
And caffeine. It might give a quick jolt, but often amps up anxiety, restlessness, makes those frayed nerves feel even more frayed. It's quite fascinating, actually, how these everyday things, like a cup of coffee, can have such a negative ripple effect on a system under that much stress.
So what's a better alternative then?
Herbal teas are great, or just water, maybe infused with a bit of fruit. Gentle hydration, gentle comfort, without the potential downsides.
Okay, that physiological side is really eye-opening. How food directly impacts a body dealing with grief. But Oliver's article also stresses the cultural side of things. How ignoring traditions can feel like, well, a lack of empathy.
Absolutely. If we zoom out, it connects to that bigger picture. It's not just about the body. It's about the soul, the community, the traditions. All around the world, grief rituals heavily influence what food is appropriate, what's expected, what's comforting in a cultural sense. Respecting that is huge. It shows you really care. Oliver actually shared this example, I think, of someone bringing a beef casserole to a Hindu family in mourning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, completely unaware of the significance. It just shows how easily good intentions can misfire if we don't understand the cultural context.
That really hits home. Can you walk us through some of the specific cultural practices Oliver mentions? It's always so interesting to see the diversity.
Sure, so in many Hindu traditions, meat is often avoided entirely during mourning periods.
Okay.
And it's not just dietary. It's rooted in this belief that food affects your spiritual state.
Yeah.
The focus is on sattvic foods, simple, vegetarian, pure, calming foods.
Savage.
Yeah, believed to help maintain inner peace. So typically prepared without onions, garlic, or heavy spices. And crucially, beef is sacred, so absolutely avoided.
That's fascinating, the spiritual dimension of the food itself. What about Jewish traditions during Shiva?
Right, during Shiva, that 7-day mourning period after a burial, you often see round foods, like eggs, bagels.
Why round?
It symbolizes the cycle of life, unbroken, continuous. It's a visual reminder, a comfort, that life goes on even amidst loss. Though, it's worth noting some observers might also avoid meat and wine during Shiva, reflecting the solemnity of the time.
That makes sense. And in Islamic communities, what are the preferences now?
Often you'll see a preference for simple, sort of earth-grown foods, dates, bread, things that are easy to share, humble, and very importantly, alcohol is completely avoided, aligning with their broader dietary laws, ensuring clarity for prayer and reflection.
These are clearly such deep-seated beliefs. What about Christian families, or maybe more secular ones? Does culture still play a role?
Oh, definitely. Even if it seems more secular on the surface, family roots matter. Oliver mentions, for example, some families might avoid pork, even if they identify as Christian or secular, if their heritage connects back to regions or traditions where it wasn't eaten.
Right, those historical ties.
Exactly. It just shows how tangled up food, culture, and identity are, often in ways we don't even consciously think about. Which brings us back to that key question for you, the listener. How do you navigate this?
Yeah, how do you?
Gently. The best way is just to ask, are there any dietary needs or cultural considerations I should be aware of? A simple, sensitive question shows respect.
Empathy really is the guide.
Always. It ensures your gesture lands as intended pure comfort, no accidental awkwardness or burden.
That's such practical advice, covering both the why and the how of being sensitive.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know what to maybe steer clear of. Let's flip it now. Let's
Great.
talk solutions, practical ways to nourish with intention. What does modern thinking offer?
Well, this is where modern wellness comes in nicely. Recognizing that grief really impacts digestion, Oliver's article points towards gut-friendly options.
Like probiotics.
Exactly. Things like yogurt. If they tolerate dairy, always check. Or maybe fermented veggies, like sauerkraut or kimchi. These can help support the gut microbiome, which often takes a hit during stress.
Interesting. I wouldn't have immediately thought of gut health during grief.
Right, but the connection between gut health and emotional states is becoming clearer all the time. Stress really does a number on it. Though, a little caveat. If fermented foods are totally unfamiliar or seem too strong, maybe stick to milder options. Don't want to introduce new discomforts.
Good point. Okay,
Yeah.
what else practically?
Meal trains. They
Yeah.
get a big thumbs up in the article, often organized online now.
Yeah, yes, those are brilliant.
They really are.
Yeah.
They solve the problem of family getting overwhelmed with like 10 lasagnas, ensures variety, spreads the load. And the focus is usually on things that are easy to reheat, nutritious. Think comforting soups, light salads with some protein, simple casseroles you can portion out.
Takes the effort out for the recipients. Priceless.
Absolutely. Sustain nourishment without adding another task to their plate.
And one absolutely critical, practical point for everyone, regardless of the food type, allergens.
Oh, non-negotiable.
Mm,
Paramount. The last thing anyone needs while grieving is an allergic reaction or some kind of food issue.
definitely not.
So common triggers, nuts, dairy, gluten, whatever it might be, you have to be mindful. And the key, label everything clearly. Ingredients, potential allergens, even the date you made it.
Such a simple thing, but huge.
It's a profound act of care, really. It prevents extra stress, maybe even serious health problems. Just clear, thorough labeling.
That really pulls it all together, mindful support, thinking through every step down to the label.
Okay, so let's bring this deep dive home. Let's recap those key takeaways from Oliver Remington's insights. First, and maybe the most vital, listen first. Just ask. Allergies, cultural norms, maybe even just what sounds good to them right now. It's respectful, it's targeted.
Simple, but effective. Second, keep it simple. Grief isn't the time for complex, heavy meals. Light, digestible, sustaining food is usually best. No extra burden.
Right. Easy does it.
Third, honor diversity. Remember that comfort looks different everywhere. What works for one person or culture might not for another. Let empathy be your compass.
Crucial.
And finally, nourish holistically. Food is important, yes, but it's one piece of the puzzle. Pair it with your presence, practical help, just being there quietly.
That's the whole picture.
So the big takeaway for you listening, it's really not just about the casserole or the soup itself, is it?
Not at all.
It's the thought, the care, the understanding behind it. Making sure that kindness lands softly, truly comforts, and doesn't accidentally add weight.
Beautifully put. And maybe one final thought to leave with you, building on that idea of holistic nourishment. When we honor someone who has passed, we're also feeding the living, feeding them with intention, with grace, with connection. Oliver's work reminds us how deeply food is tied to memory, to relationships. It can be, in a way, a flavorful legacy, weaving stories of favorite meals into how we remember.
A flavorful legacy. I like that.
So maybe something for you to ponder. What foods bring back cherished memories for you, memories of people you love? And how can those tastes, those flavors continue to nourish, continue to tell stories long after the initial grief begins to shift? How can food bridge memory and comfort?